Kipo's Season 2 finale was one of the best finales I had ever seen. They really perfected the structure of having seasonal plots, but still building into a bigger story by expanding on the world and how our characters directly relate to it. If it's like the other DreamWorks shows, then it's undoubtedly going to have another 3 seasons with 32 episodes that will be coming out over the next year and a half. But what the Season 2 finale managed to do was something that even one of the most deep and nuanced shows like Steven Universe was not able to do, or really any other cartoon before it. Now, I'm not saying I like Kipo more than Steven Universe, that show is still the most epic thing I've ever seen, but I have to hand it to Kipo for handling one of the greatest arcs I've ever seen, one that deconstructs the morality of children's television as a whole, and treats the children not as adults, but just as intelligent children. A recurring theme in Kipo is that she uses understanding, and I guess love, to try and connect with people, even mutes who aren't sentient. While other surface humans like Wolf are quick to attack and get into fights, Kipo tries to de-escalate the situation and come to a place of understanding and respect with the mutes of the surface world. This has worked well for her so far and is a common theme in children's television as a whole. Despite most of these shows being produced by a nation that is constantly at war, the government likes to mandate that we teach children that violence is never the answer. This, as well as parents not liking how violent a cartoon can get when dealing with serious plot lines, has made a lot of cartoons pretend to be about action and adventure, with the ultimate goal being to show a character winning because of heart instead of fighting. Kipo Season 2, however, took that idea and turned it on its head. As I've said before, she spent most of the series trying to win over every potential enemy she had instead of beating them up, but much like in real life, that just isn't always an option, especially when other people's lives are at stake. The final boss of the season was of course Scarlemane, who had a pretty tragic backstory involving Kipo's parents, particularly her father. In the end, he wasn't anyone's highest priority. He was loved, but being loved by those people caused him to suffer more than it brought him joy. Because he was expected to cater to the relationship he was in to maintain them, while they were putting each other and their daughter as a higher priority than him. In the end, the only way he thought he could feel worthy was to make it so that everyone made him the highest priority, even if through control with his pheromones or physical force with his armies. It was one of the greatest stories of a man going mad with power to become king, because at the end of the day, the most relatable thing across all people is that we want to feel important. And most of us want to feel like we are the most important thing in the world to at least one other person. This was the perfect thing for Kipo to appeal to, in keeping with the theme of winning people over with her heart as opposed to her strength. And they did a good job of building up how she had even lost faith in her father, not just for abandoning Scarlemane, but for not trying to appeal to his humanity instead of wanting to fight back. He believed that Scarlemane was a lost cause. This was an extremely common direction for children's stories to go, but Kipo did what no other show has done so far. They made her wrong. In the end, while she was able to connect to Scarlemane, he is too far gone. He was willing to let everyone go if Kipo could prove that he was more important to her than her father, that his redemption was more important than him, but in the end, she could not do it. That was the final straw, the reminder that Scarlemane wasn't the most important thing to anyone, even someone who had been treated much like he had with the genetic experimentation. In the end, Kipo accepts the situation for what it is, that trying any further to save Scarlemane will just be putting other people's lives at risk, and she can't ignore the fact that he's tyrannical at the expense of all those people, especially the ones that she considers to be the most important to her. What ensues is an actual battle where they have to beat him, and Scarlemane being sent away to prison with the Timbercats for what he has done. In the last moments, there is regret, realizations that even if he wasn't the most important person to Kipo, that he could have made himself important to people by giving them a real choice. And I'm sure we will see him finding some redemption in Season 3, but it was a beautiful ending that combined both of their arcs. We were left with the idea that the world would be a much better place if we showed more compassion and tried to appeal to each other's humanity instead of just fighting, but that in the end, not everyone can be reached that way. And it's okay to attack them to defend the people that you want to keep safe from them. I've never seen an American-produced children's show deal with a topic that serious and go through with the character being the bad guy in the end, and the hero having no choice but to pull out their claws and fight back. Even in a show like Steven Universe, where nuance and real adult issues are a common exploration in the story. At one point, Cartoon Network even suggested that Steven shatter a gem, specifically Spinel, to rid the universe of her evil. While they were likely going for the traditional good guys versus bad guys storyline there, a lot of fans theorized that was what would happen to her before the movie came out. Before that, they theorized the same thing about White Diamond, and after that, they theorized the same thing would happen to Jasper. The show talks a lot about working through disagreements, but with such tyrannical villains who did some horrid things, a lot of fans wanted to see what they considered to be the truth, that not everyone can be won over, and trying to do so puts real innocent lives at risk. To date, the closest I've seen any other show come to reaching the same conclusion is Digimon Tri, a sequel movie series to the original Digimon anime that had the characters realizing that sometimes sacrifice, both self-sacrifice and another's innocent life, is what makes someone an adult in a dire situation. These films, while technically kid-friendly, were meant for the adults who have watched Digimon when growing up, so it isn't quite the same thing as seeing Kipo realize that she couldn't save Scarlamagne and then later apologize to her father for being harsh to him on giving up on Scarlamagne. The interesting thing about it is I don't think this is a very adult topic. Kids often understand that what they're seeing in TV is being dumbed down for them, and it doesn't have to be. Kids can understand that there are people that you can't reason with, and sometimes you need to do something in order to stop them when they're going to seriously hurt the ones that they love. At least, as far as I know, Kipo's the only show that's done it. But are there other cartoons that have dealt with this topic, that had the hero realizing they can't just win the bad guys over with their heart? Let me know in a comment down below so I can watch it, and I'll see you next time.